been live for 35 seconds. Hello, everybody. You've caught me in my study reading. I guess this is a Q&A session, is it not? Should I talk this way? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not Mark Shepard. I'm Mark Pellegrino. So if you were signing up for the Mark Shepard Q&A, you're in the wrong place. I mean, I could sound like Mark if you'd like me to, but I'm Mark Pellegrino. Completely different guy, completely different character. Just letting you guys know. So, hey, what's up, guys? What are you doing up so early in the morning? It's a pandemic. You should be sleeping. So I got a few questions right off the bat that I'm going to try to answer. Ignore the Barbies in the background, by the way. Those are my wife's. My wife is a Barbie doll collector. We've got a closet full of them that have never been taken out of the boxes. And by the way, Johnny is right here, this little black muff behind me. This is Johnny. Frankie's down by my legs, and Cody is locked in the room because he is the real Lucifer and he won't leave me alone. And I wouldn't be able to answer any of your questions. So, question for Mark Pellegrino, not Mark Shepard. Have you ever had a supernatural experience? Yes. Next. Yes, I did. I'm going to go into more detail than that, I swear. I have had a supernatural experience. It was at a haunted hotel called the Victorian Rose in Ventura, which was formerly a church built in the 19th century, late 19th century. And apparently a young child was murdered there and a priest died there. And this young child and this priest were the two ghosts that haunted the Victorian Rose. And I took my wife there for an anniversary weekend. It's a little bed and breakfast, and we hope to have a supernatural experience. We were told the whole story. The priest tucks you in at night, which is extraordinarily creepy, right, given what we know about priests. And the little girl just sort of roams the hallways. And we stayed up as late as we could, hoping that the little girl would, present herself to us, but she never did. Finally fell asleep around 1 in the morning. And somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up. Like my eyes just popped open. Has that ever happened to you? That happens to me when I have bad dreams, but almost never. And this time I wasn't dreaming. My eyes just opened, and I felt a presence behind me. And I pinched myself sort of a little bit. My arm was sort of locked under me, so I pinched it myself, and I felt the pain, right? You're not supposed to feel pain if you pinch yourself. Hi, John. Look. If you pinch yourself and you're in a dream, you're not supposed to feel it. So I was awake. I knew I was awake. And I felt this presence, and then I felt something tickle the back of my neck. I'm thinking it was the priest's tongue. I don't know. But that's when I jumped up and turned around, and there was nothing there. By the way, I told this story to Celebrity Ghost Stories, and they kept trying to goad me into making the story a lot more interesting, because it wasn't interesting enough to go on their show. So there you go, guys. Frankelwith. Is that your name, Frankelwith? Question: do you have a particular favorite memory from filming Supernatural? Yeah, it's now you're asking me to go through 15 years of file footage in my brain and single out a memory, because at the moment it just all sort of gels together into one positive experience, right? There's the famous is like always right there in my brain. He farted during a take, and I did the whole take in a spark cloud. That was very memorable for me. I've had tons of great conversations with Jared in between takes about politics and philosophy and such. You know how I like to talk deep things. So man, it's always just been it's just a fun experience all the way around. I enjoyed I've enjoyed some of the more violent scenes. Those are always fun to choreograph and sort out, as long as you don't get injured during them. Hey, Castell's Angels, what's up? Any Lucifer items you'd like to keep from SBN? Does Lucifer have items? You might have to tell me, because Lucifer is just sort of goes everywhere with the clothes on his back, right? He's like always roughing it in every episode. Unless you can remind me of something particular, an artifact that Lucifer always had around with him, I can't remember it to save my life. But I would like Baby, but I think Jensen's getting that. Whatever. Like, he's not even a big part of the show, right? But they're giving him Baby. Okay. All right. Be that way. NA8586, over the years of playing Lucifer, have you seen more of yourself in him or more of him in you? That is an excellent question. You're right to not draw a distinction. I see more of myself in him and more of him in me every day. Look at what I'm doing. Look at the way I'm behaving now. I'm a little buffoonish, right? That's Lucifer. That's Lucifer creeping out through the Pellegrino cracks. What, right, John? Yeah, yawn. This is what I get. This is the kind of support I get from this crew. Yeah, but I can't help but think that any role that I play, I sort of touch on parts of myself, right? In order to make a role ring true to you, and if it rings true to you, it'll ring true to others. You have to find the parts of yourself in that role, right? And that childish, prankish behavior is right up my alley. I'm sort of, contrary to popular opinion, everybody thinks I'm so serious. I'm actually kind of a joker. But I like talking about serious things, so I guess that's what sort of predominates in most people's minds. But really, a big part of my personality is just having fun and fucking around, and with people, fucking with their heads. See, that was a Lucifer moment, right? There's no distinction between he and I. Maybe I'll go to the StageIt thing here and see if there's other questions coming up. Do I want to purchase? Should I purchase a ticket, guys? Do you improvise scenes? Oh, that went by really, really fast. Sometimes in general, yes, I like to be improvisational with my scenes, which means free with the dialogue. And if something occurs to me in the moment, I don't like restricting it because it wasn't on the page to begin with. But some projects don't really go in for that, right? If you're working for David Kelly, for example, if you guys don't know David Kelly, he's a major award-winning writer, or Aaron Sorkin. Most of you might know Aaron Sorkin from West Wing, or David Milch, who did NYPD Blue. I mean, those guys write sort of lyric dialogue, and they don't want you fucking with it, and you probably shouldn't anyway, because they're going to say it better than you can in the moment, more often than not. So I like improvisation, sort of my favorite thing to do, and I like a set that's open to it, and most sets are relatively open to it. But remember, TV is the writer's medium, and writers have spent a lot of time working on that dialogue and trying to craft it to tell the story they want to tell, and they don't usually like you changing their words if you can help it. Scotland love. What's your favorite film location? How did that sound? Oh, that was fucking bad. That was fat bastard. Oh, sexy. My favorite film location, I love filming in New York because there's a mystique to New York for an actor. I mean, I think for any American, there's always been a mystique around New York, right? The Big Apple is the Big Apple for a reason. It was the port of entry for immigrants coming into this country who wanted to grab a hold of the American dream and take a bite out of it, right? The apple was the American dream, and you could take a bite out of it. And it's the center of commerce, and And what I loved about it, particularly before 9/11, was it is just so much vibrancy. You know, you could go to New York at 3 in the morning and be in a little coffee house in Alphabet City, you know, or the Lower East Side. The place was just ripping around you. Everybody was so purposeful, even if they were going nowhere. And so, and you know, it's the home of the Actors Studio and the home of Sanford Meisner's neighborhood playhouse, and the sort of source of the group theater. So all of American acting sort of identified itself there, got its identity from New York. And so going there to work as an actor, and man, it's great. And I've done a couple shows where I was filming in New York, and it was pretty doggone cool, you know what I say? So that's my favorite place to film. Raven Rolfe. Hello, Raven Rolfe. What was it like during the final fight scene with Jensen as Michael? Is there any hope of Lucifer returning during this final season? So the final fight scene was fairly heinous. It started out really good because there was like a little hand-to-hand aikijitsu thing that you know, stunt coordinator, that's it, worked out with us. That was really cool. And then once we took to the air, it was all downhill from there. Partly because the way that Johnny, are you bored? What are you doing, buddy? What's up? What are you doing? You're interrupting my question. There's people right here. See, there's people watching us. Do you understand that, kiddo? You don't care, do you? She's so self-absorbed. You know, it's all about her. Look at her, smiling. I'm interrupting Mark's con. Isn't that cool? So yeah, once it went airborne, it went south because, you know, it was just like punch, and that was bad. But the way they harness you, you know, is in a girdle that goes almost down to your knees and all the way up through your back, and they cinch you in so tightly you're sort of how do I do this? Drawn into a C. Your whole body's bowed, and you can't move really very, very effectively. And so when I ran to do my Superman flight, which looks straight out of, you know, 1980s Christopher Reeve's Superman, I looked like, you know, did you ever see the old man that Tim Conway did in the Carol Burnett show? Yeah, I sort of looked like I was running like that, little teeny micro steps. And it was absurd. And you can't take the fight seriously, if anything, just because of that run at Michael. Lucifer would not run like that. But there was nothing I could do. I had physical constraints. Teresa, Dean is nicknamed Squirrel and Sam is Moose. If Lucifer had an animal nickname, what would it be? Wiener Dog. Lucifer Wiener Dog. Right? Wiener dogs rule the earth. Lucifer is the prince of the earth. Therefore, it makes sense. Wiener dog. So this is sort of a syllogism, right? Every man is mortal. Socrates is a man. Socrates is mortal. Lucifer is the prince of the earth. So are wiener dogs, and so Lucifer is a wiener dog. That won't go in my philosophy papers. Don't grade that, please. That was not a very good syllogism. I apologize. Hey, Diana Bitch Jerk. Is that your real last name? Bitch Jerk? Can you imagine if your last name was really Bitch Jerk? Could you get through grammar school with a last name like Bitch Jerk? That's what I want to know. Don't think you could. And if you could, you'd be badass, right? Like A Boy Named Sue. Have you ever heard that song? If you haven't, check it out. What do you think Lucifer would do in season 15 if he confronted Chuck? Oh, by the way, I think in the previous question, somebody asked me if they thought I was returning to season 15. Yes, to that. What would Lucifer do in season 15 if he confronted Chuck? Talk a bunch of shit, you know, talk about how bad he was and how he could kick Chuck's ass and then get his ass kicked in the end. Right? That's what seems to happen. Lucifer's a lot of talk. A lot of this. That's the difference between season 14 Lucifer and season 5 Lucifer. Season 5 Lucifer didn't talk much. And when he talked, you listened. And when he did shit, he fucked you up. There was just there was no preamble, right? There was no hot air. No energy wasted. He was all about economy of motion. Lucifer in season 14, big mouth. Not a lot of this, we need more of this. So Lucifer should just shut up, walk up to Chuck, and smack him as hard as he can right in the mouth. All right? That's what I do. Cole Watson. How are you, Watson? What are you doing, John? John, don't. What are you doing? Don't jump down. Your legs are tiny. You're going to hurt yourself. Hold on, guys. I gotta let Johnny down. She's going nuts on me. Okay, buddy. There you go. That's Johnny. Watson, what's your favorite line you said in Supernatural? Snapping necks and cashing checks is what I do. I even did a joke version of that line in ADR, and I'm surprised it's never made it into even the outtakes. Hey, snapping necks and cashing checks is what I do. Right? That's the way I wanted to deliver it on the day. I couldn't do it until we were in ADR, dialogue replacement, for all of those who don't know what that is. Laurie N., if you were actually Lucifer, how would you change hell? What do you mean if I was actually Lucifer? I am Lucifer. And if I were, okay, I'll take this first. If I were actually Lucifer, how would I change hell? It would be paradise. You could go there and do any goddamn thing you wanted to, right? It wouldn't be like a boring place that's all white with harps and singing, and all you do is praise God every day. Forgive me, Christians, for offending you right now. It would be a place where you went and you pursued your greatest passions, right? People are tortured for pursuing their greatest passions. Why? That's life. You're living life. You would live life in hell. That's what I'm saying. CJ Bear, what's up? What are you doing, CJ? What is a project you would like to do that you haven't done yet? Enemy of the People by Ibsen. I haven't decided if I want to do Ibsen's version, he was the original author, or Arthur Miller's version. Arthur Miller was a great playwright, but I despise his outlook. Look how big my head is. My head is this big. So yeah, Enemy of the People is what I would love to do. I certainly feel like I'm one man against the mob when I'm in social media. And so I might as well do a play about it, where one man in the whole town is right, and the whole town is against him, and they're going to die. Great play, you should read it. We all need to hear that ethic, right? That no one is more powerful than the human being alone. He says man, the man alone. But the idea of the individual being the most powerful being on earth, that's pretty awesome. And you think about it, mobs surrender their minds, and they surrender to the most prurient passions. It's they're weak. It's the person that stands against them. It's that guy in Tiananmen Square that stood in front of the tank and refused to let it go, who's the baddest son of a bitch on the planet. Give me that, right? So that would be my favorite. There's probably some Shakespeare I'd like to do too, but I haven't sorted out which Shakespeare, because I don't want to play a king unless he's completely corrupt, because kings suck. This is Castiel's Angels again. What's up? How long have you had your dogs and Cody for? Any fun stories on when you first brought them home? We've had Frankie since 2007, so that makes he's coming up on 13 years old. We've had Johnny since 2008 or somewhere there, a little after 2008, so she's about a year and a half younger than Frankie. And, excuse me, I'm going to burp. And we've had Cody since 2012. And Cody's had a bit of an unfortunate go of it, because we've taken him everywhere we can, but when we first moved to Vancouver to work on The Tomorrow People and The Return, we were sneaking him into the places we were renting, right? We had the dogs, but we snuck Cody in. And then one day, the maid in one of the places ratted us out, and we had to put Cody in a calf hotel, which was, he loved it there, but because he had his own room. It was like a room, but it looked like a prison. When they'd have the room, and he had his big scratcher, and he had all his toys, and they played with him every day, and he got tons of catnip, and he got brushed, he got tons of love. But I think it made him very needy, right? So he's really intense about giving affection to people, because we've had to leave him, in hotels, because nobody wants him except us. Funny stories. I mean, Frankie to me was funny growing up. He was like a little wiener with big ears that were too big and feet that were too big, and too much skin. His face was wrinkled, and he always had a sad clown expression on his face. And just every day with him was a trip. It was like having a kid. When you have a kid, you can't take your eyes off him. Every moment is important and fun and funny and makes you feel alive. And that's the way it was with Frankie. And Johnny just sort of stepped in the middle of that and screwed everything up. No, I'm kidding. People think I don't like Johnny as much, and they're right. And Frankie is my favorite. But I still love Johnny, even though she annoys me, because she pisses anywhere she wants, and she craps anywhere she wants, and she knows it's wrong because she's really smart. So somebody help me with that. Tell me what I can do about it. I've tried everything. M-Bug, what's up? Your question. What's your favorite dog breed? Yes. They're all my favorites. There is no such thing as a bad dog, right? Dogs are amazing. I never thought I would be so fond of wiener dogs. I used to like big dogs. But Frankie's just such an amazing little boy. And even though Johnny's a fuck up, I love her too. So I've fallen in love with wiener dogs now. I would have to say, if I were to pick out, what dog is sort of an all-around great dog, I would say a pit bull is, an all-around great dog. It's a great family dog. They're super smart. They're super sweet. And they can kick ass. That's the ideal being, as far as I'm concerned. Faye wishes. What's up, Faye? What's the biggest difference between you and Lucifer? Well, I can't do this and disintegrate people instantly. Otherwise, I'd be using that power a lot. My eyes don't turn red when I get mad. I don't have big archangel wings. When I do this, when I shrug, nothing happens. Except people just wonder what the hell I'm doing. What else? What other power does Lucifer have that I don't? I can't, make things come to me just by going, hey, I want that, right? I can't hold out my hand and it comes to me. But that's it. Everything else, the twisted personality, the reveling in people's unhappiness. Yeah, I just go right in here for that. That's all here, right here. And there's a certain aspect of Lucifer that's sort of a brawler too. I like that about him. I like brawlers. All of my friends, my guy friends in particular, are animals. I surround myself with primates, and I'm very happy in that world. Is that weird? Am I confessing too much? Is this live? Or did I say that out loud? If I did, I apologize. Robina. What's up, Robina? If Castiel and Lucifer played a board game, what game would they play? Monopoly, and Lucifer would dominate. Lottie, top 5 favorite places in the world and why? Ireland, number 1. It is... Well, this is just, look, first of all, let me preface this by saying, whenever you say something is your favorite place, there's so many intangibles in there. And things that you might not even understand why a place is your favorite place, right? Why a particular country resonates with you more than others. But for me, Ireland is one of my favorite places, not just because it's green and pristine and has like a history that goes back to the Neolithic age that you can actually touch, right? You can go to the Aran Islands and you can see forts that were built 4,000 years ago. There are more that are as old as the pyramids. And there's burial mounds that go back to the Neolithic age. And there's awesome castles there. And there's the cliffs of Moher, and the people are awesome. And it was great when I could drink, because I'd go from town to town, and I'd shoot a Jameson and Guinness, and it was awesome. The people are great. It's just so vibrant and alive. And even from my point of view, the political space is more free. Like New Zealand there's just freer spaces for people to live, and I sort of dig that, man. I also love Israel. I used to be a Christian way back when, and I'm still very connected to that world, not only because I played Lucifer, but because the Christian literature is so interesting to me. So going to Capernaum or Jerusalem and walking in the footsteps of Jesus and the apostles was very compelling to me, or even King David and the patriarchs was just a sobering experience, sobering in a good way, right? Because in Israel you get to touch the very origins of Western civilization and also live in a contemporary society, and I love that. I love Greece. For that very same reason, that I'm touching the beginnings of Western culture. I mean, can you imagine what it's like standing on the Acropolis and knowing who built it, who was there, who stood there in that very same precipice as you, or being in the Temple Dionysus, the first theater, and knowing that the greatest minds in Western civilization watched plays, probably from the very seat that you're sitting in. That's heady stuff, man. I've loved aspects of every other place that I've been. Paris is a beautiful place. It's a lot in the French countryside. It's beautiful. Spain Spain is beautiful. Any place I can touch history is good for me. I'm from Van Nuys. So that's not a COVID cough, by the way. So you guys aren't going to get that. I'm not COVID clouding here. You're fine. You're safe. Or wear your mask. You'll be okay. I grew up in Van Nuys. So there's no building in Van Nuys older than 1947. So for me, seeing a historical monument is like a unbelievable event for me. The first historical monument I saw was Fort Sumter, by the way. In 1991, I did a Civil War movie of the week. It was going to be a series, but they made it into a movie of the week. I don't know if I got to 5, but hey, there you go.